I adjusted my simple cotton dress, the kind a typical tutor might wear, as I walked into my family's annual reunion dinner. The silk channel suit I'd worn to my board meeting earlier was safely tucked away in my car. Tonight, like every family gathering for the past 8 years, I was just Sofia Kim, the disappointing daughter who taught kids for a living. If they only knew that their simple tutor had built EduTech Asia, the fastest-growing education technology company in the continent, that the woman they pitied was worth $3.8 billion on paper. Sofia, my cousin Jenny's voice carried across the restaurant's private room. Still teaching those after-school classes? I smiled, remembering the merger documents I'd signed that morning. A $500 million acquisition of our biggest competitor. Yes, still teaching. My mother hurried over, her face pinched with familiar disappointment. Darling, you know your cousin Michael's company is always hiring. They need someone in HR. I'm happy with my work, Mom. Happy? She lowered her voice. You live in that tiny apartment, drive that old car. Your sister Diane is a senior executive, and you're still tutoring children like a college student. The tiny apartment was actually my cover residence, a modest place I kept for family visits. My real home was a penthouse overlooking Marina Bay. The old car was deliberately chosen to maintain my facade. But they didn't need to know that. Not yet. I took my usual seat at the far end of the table, watching as my siblings and cousins arrived in their designer clothes and luxury cars, eager to share their latest promotions and achievements. Did you hear? Diane announced, smoothing her Prada dress. I just closed the Anderson merger. $10 million deal. Our father beamed. That's my girl, a real businesswoman. I hid my smile behind my water glass. 10 million? I'd spent more than that on office furniture for our new headquarters last week. Speaking of business, my aunt cut in. Did you all see the news about that education technology company? The one that's revolutionizing Asian education. My heart skipped a beat. EduTech Asia. Michael leaned forward. Their valuation just hit $40 billion. Nobody knows who runs it though. The founder keeps their identity secret. I heard it's some genius from Stanford, Jenny added. My kids use their learning platform. It's incredible. If they only knew they were speaking to the genius right now, that their dismissed relative had created the platform that was transforming education across Asia. 8 years earlier, a teaching app. My father's voice dripped with disdain. That's your big business idea? I stood in his home office, clutching my business plan. At 24, fresh out of my master's program in educational technology, I thought I had a shot at convincing him to invest in my startup idea. It's not just an app. I tried to explain. It's an AI-driven adaptive learning platform that personalizes education for each student. The market potential in Asia alone. Enough. He waved his hand dismissively. If you want to waste your time teaching, fine, but don't expect me to throw money at your little hobby. Diane, already a rising star at her consulting firm, smirked from her perch on the leather sofa. Come on, Sofia. Leave the real business to those of us who understand it. I left that office with my dreams intact, but my family relationships fractured. They thought I was choosing a safe, small life. They had no idea I was about to build something revolutionary. The first 2 years were brutal. I tutored during the day to pay bills while coding at night. My tiny studio apartment became a makeshift office with algorithms and user interface designs covering every wall. I changed my name professionally, using my mother's maiden name, Chen, to avoid any connection to my family. Every time they mocked my teaching job at family gatherings, I channeled that energy into building something bigger than they could imagine. The breakthrough came when a small international school in Singapore agreed to pilot my platform. Within 3 months, their students' test scores increased by 40%. 6 months later, they signed a contract to implement the system school-wide. Word spread. More schools signed up. Investors started calling, but I kept my identity hidden, working through carefully constructed corporate veils. The education technology industry was male-dominated, and I knew being a young woman would bring extra scrutiny I didn't need. I watched from afar as my family continued to dismiss my career choices. Each snide comment about just teaching fueled my determination. Each patronizing offer of a real job pushed me to work harder. By year 5, EduTech Asia was valued at $5 billion. Our learning platform was being used in 12 countries. We had offices in Singapore, Hong Kong, and Seoul. The mysterious Ms. Chen was being hailed as a visionary in educational technology. Still, I maintained my cover. At family gatherings, I wore modest clothes and drove an old car. I kept the small apartment where I supposedly lived. I let them believe I was struggling while my actual net worth soared. Sophia, Michael's voice pulled me back to the present. My daughter's struggling with math. Maybe you could tutor her? I'll pay your regular rate. I bit back a laugh. The regular rate for my time these days was $50,000 per consulting hour, when I took meetings at all. Actually, my mother interjected. I've been meaning to talk to you about your future. There's a position opening up in your father's company. Administrative work, but it could lead to something better. I checked my phone discreetly. A message from my CEO about the latest acquisition. Deal's done. Press release goes out tomorrow morning. Tomorrow, after 8 years of hiding, tomorrow everything would change. I appreciate the offer, I said quietly, but I'm doing fine with my teaching. Diane snorted. Fine? You call living in that tiny apartment fine? When was the last time you even took a vacation? Last month, actually, to my private island in the Maldives. But they didn't need to know that. Not until tomorrow. The rest of dinner passed in a blur of subtle digs and patronizing suggestions. I sat quietly, picking at my food, thinking about the press release scheduled for 9 a.m. the next morning. EduTech Asia founder revealed the headlines would read, accompanied by my professional headshot and full biography. The story would detail how a young woman had built an education empire in secret, becoming one of the most successful entrepreneurs in Asian history. As I drove home in my deliberately modest car, I smiled thinking about tomorrow's family group chat, about their faces when they realized that the just a tutor they'd dismissed for 8 years had built something beyond their wildest dreams. Sometimes the best success is the kind no one sees coming. And tomorrow, they'd see everything. At exactly 9 a.m., I sat in my real office, a sprawling penthouse suite atop EduTech Asia's headquarters, watching multiple screens as the news broke. My PR team had orchestrated everything perfectly, with simultaneous releases across all major business publications in Asia. Education's hidden billionaire. The woman behind EduTech Asia revealed Tutoring Revolution, how Sofia Kim built a $40 billion empire. Meet Ms. Chen, the secret architect of Asia's educational future. My phone started buzzing immediately. I watched as familiar names flashed across the screen. Diane, Michael, Jenny, my parents. I let them go to voicemail, instead focusing on the CNBC interview playing on one of my monitors. In a shocking revelation, EduTech Asia founder Sofia Kim has finally stepped into the public eye. The anchor was saying, the mysterious Ms. Chen, as she was previously known, has built the largest education technology company in Asia while maintaining complete anonymity. My assistant's voice came through the intercom. Ms. Kim, your family is in the lobby. All of them. I smiled, straightening my Armani suit. Send them up in 5 minutes. Let them wait a bit. I used those minutes to prepare myself, looking out over the Singapore skyline from my floor-to-ceiling windows. Behind me, screens displayed our company's global reach, millions of students using our platform across 15 countries, thousands of schools transformed by our technology. The elevator dinged. I heard multiple footsteps, then silence as they entered my office. Hello, family, I said without turning around. I suppose you have questions. Sophia? My father's voice was barely a whisper. This is impossible. I turned slowly, taking in their shocked expressions. My mother had her hand pressed to her mouth. Diane looked like she'd seen a ghost. Michael was frantically Googling on his phone, probably verifying what he was seeing. Impossible? I raised an eyebrow. Like building a multi-billion-dollar company was impossible, or like succeeding without following your prescribed path was impossible. But you're just a tutor, Jenny stammered. You live in that small apartment. A cover residence, I said, walking to my desk. Just like the old car and the modest clothes at family gatherings. I needed to focus on building something extraordinary without interference or expectations. Why? My mother finally found her voice. Why hide it from us? I sat down in my chair. Italian leather, custom made, worth more than Michael's car. Would you have understood? 8 years ago, when I tried to explain my vision, what did you all say? My father shifted uncomfortably, remembering his dismissal of my teaching app. You were also certain about what success looked like, I continued. Corporate jobs, traditional career paths, following in familiar footsteps. I chose a different path, and every time you mocked that choice, it just proved I was right to keep this private. But $40 billion? Diane's voice cracked slightly. That's more than your entire consulting firm is worth. I finished for her. Yes, it is. Turns out there's more than one way to build something meaningful. I clicked a remote, and the screens behind me filled with images of our impact. Students in rural villages accessing world-class education through our platform. Test scores improving across entire countries. Literacy rates soaring in areas where we'd implemented our systems. This isn't just about money, I said. We're changing lives, transforming education, creating opportunities for millions of students who never had them before. Why reveal it now? Michael asked, still staring at his phone in disbelief. Because we're going public next month. The IPO is expected to value EduTech Asia at $60 billion. I smiled slightly. Hard to keep that quiet. My father took a step forward. Sofia, we didn't know. No, you didn't. You didn't want to know. It was easier to dismiss me as the family disappointment than to understand what I was building. But now, my mother said quickly, now we can celebrate your success. We should have a family dinner, announce it properly. No, I stood up. I'm not revealing this so you can suddenly take pride in what you spent 8 years mocking. I'm revealing it because it's time for the world to see what's possible when you believe in education and innovation in yourself. Surely you understand, my father tried again. We were just worried about your future. My future? I gestured around the office. I'd say my future is secure. The question is, what's yours? They looked confused. You see, I continued, EduTech Asia just acquired the learning technology division of your company, father. The paperwork was finalized yesterday. You'll be receiving the official notification this afternoon. His face went pale. What? Oh, and Michael? I turned to my cousin. That education startup you've been trying to launch? The one you said would revolutionize tutoring. It's using our patented technology without permission. Our lawyers will be in touch. The room fell silent. Through the windows, I could see our company logo illuminated on buildings across the city. The empire I'd built while they thought I was just giving math lessons. Now, I said, checking my watch, I have a board meeting in 10 minutes. Real business to attend to. Sofia, please, my mother stepped forward. We're still family. Are we? I met her eyes. Was I family when you pushed me to take administrative jobs? When you treated my career choice like a personal failure? When you spent 8 years pitying me at every gathering? Tears filled her eyes. We were wrong. So wrong. Yes, I agreed. You were. And now you know exactly how wrong. I pressed the intercom. Claire, please show my family out. And hold all their future calls. They can go through proper channels like everyone else. As they were led away, looking shell-shocked and small, my father paused at the door. I don't understand, he said quietly. How did we not see it? Because you weren't looking, I replied. You were too busy telling me what I couldn't do to see what I was actually doing. After they left, I walked back to the windows. Looking out over the city I quietly conquered. My phone was still buzzing with messages. Extended family members suddenly remembering my existence. Old classmates claiming they always knew I'd be successful. Distant relatives asking about investment opportunities. I deleted them all. A text from my assistant. Your 10 a.m. is here. The Ministry of Education wants to discuss implementing our platform nationwide. I smiled, thinking about how far I'd come from that day in my father's office, clutching my business plan while they all dismissed my dreams. The teaching app they'd mocked was now transforming education across an entire continent. The little hobby they belittled had become a force for global change. My phone buzzed one last time. A message from Diane. I'm so sorry for everything. Can we talk? I thought about it for a moment, then typed back, schedule a meeting through my office, like everyone else does. Sometimes success isn't just about proving others wrong. It's about proving yourself so right that their opinions become irrelevant. Sometimes the best revenge isn't confrontation. It's building something so magnificent that they're forced to confront their own short-sightedness. I straightened my suit and headed to the conference room. I had a meeting to run, an IPO to prepare for, and an education revolution to lead. Let them watch from the sidelines. I had a world to change. The next few months were a whirlwind of media attention and corporate expansion. EduTech Asia's IPO was the largest in Asian history for an education company. My net worth doubled overnight. Business magazines fought for exclusive interviews. Universities asked me to give commencement speeches. Through it all, I maintained my focus on our mission. We launched new initiatives to bring education technology to underserved communities. We developed advanced AI tutoring systems that could adapt to each student's unique learning style. We continued to transform education one classroom at a time. My family made various attempts at reconciliation. My mother sent expensive gifts to my office. I donated them. My father tried to arrange meetings through business contacts. I declined. Diane sent lengthy emails about how proud she was of her brilliant sister. I archived them unread. 6 months after the revelation, I sat in my office reviewing quarterly reports when my assistant announced an unexpected visitor. "There's a young girl here to see you," Claire said. "Says she's your niece, Michael's daughter Amy, the one who needed math tutoring." I remembered Michael's condescending offer at that last family dinner. After a moment's consideration, I said, "Send her in." Amy entered nervously, clutching a tablet. She looked around my office with wide eyes before speaking. "Aunt Sophia, I have been using your learning platform. It's amazing. I went from a C to an A in math, and now I'm thinking about studying computer science in college." I studied her carefully. Here was someone who had actually benefited from what I built, who saw the value in education technology not as a business proposition but as a tool for growth. "Sit down, Amy," I said, gesturing to a chair. "Tell me about what you want to learn." For the next hour, I listened as my niece shared her dreams of creating educational games, of making learning more accessible and engaging. She showed me sketches of ideas she had, concepts she'd been too nervous to share with her business-focused family. "They don't understand," she said quietly. "They think technology is just about making money. But you see it differently," I finished for her. "You see how it can change lives." She nodded eagerly. I made a decision. How would you like to intern here next summer? See how educational technology really works. Her face lit up. "Really? But what about Dad and the family?" "This isn't about them," I said firmly. "It's about you, your potential, and what you want to build." As Amy left my office, clutching her internship offer letter, I thought about cycles breaking, about new generations finding their own paths. Maybe that was the real victory, not just proving my family wrong, but showing others it was possible to succeed by following their own dreams. I turned back to my work, to the empire I'd built while they weren't looking, to the future I was still creating. Sometimes the greatest success isn't in the revelation. It's in what you keep building after everyone finally sees what you've been doing all along.